Hello CraftDee Family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY project, we'll be creating some fun spring farmhouse DIY decor using items from the Dollar Tree. Now these all feature a clean black and white theme, and you can add any florals or accessories that you like. Now these pieces are easy to make, and they can be decorated for a year-round use as well. Now for your convenience, I've provided the complete list of supplies and tools that I use to make these projects in the description box below. I'm so very excited to share this tutorial with you, but before we start, I wanted to say hey, and welcome back to my fantastic subscribers and visitors to my channel. Now, if you are a new visitor to my channel today and you love to create fun and easy DIY projects on a budget, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and also click that notification bell so you will be the first to know when a new DIY tutorial is ready to share with you. So now, let's jump right into these projects. Now this project is a picket fence tiered tray. Now for this project, we're going to need 2 box frame signs, and these are available in different designs throughout the year from the Dollar Tree. And we're also going to need some craft sticks from Lowe's, and these were 98 cents. We're also going to need 2 7-inch scrap pieces of wood, or you can use tower blocks or a large dowel for support. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by grabbing those signs and removing all of the labels on the back, and we also want to remove those picture hanger metal pieces at the top. So now what we're going to do is we are actually going to work on our fence pieces, and for this we're going to be using these sticks from Lowe's, and these are 98 cents a pack. Now we're going to take one of the sticks and we're going to measure down and divide it equally in half for 2 pieces, and then cut it down the center. Then just double to check to make sure that they're all centered, and then we can continue to cut the rest of them until we have a bunch of them. So for the rounded end, I'm just going to cut in a pointed kind of way to make it look like a fence picket. So once we cut all the tops of our sticks to look like pickets, we can start to apply them to our box. And I'm going to start by applying one at the far end, and we're just going to make sure it lines up in that corner. Now the next one we're going to apply to the opposite end, and we're going to apply this in the corner. Now I am using my wood stick hot glue for this project. Now for the next 2, we're just going to center in the center, and we want to make sure they're evenly spaced. So just apply them one at a time, making sure that the spacing in between them is equal. Now this glue does give you a little bit of working time, so you can shift them and align them as needed. Now one of these sides is a little shorter, so on this side we are going to do the same thing by applying one of those pickets in the corner. We're going to apply that second picket on the corner, and for this one we're only going to need 1 picket down the center. So now we can continue this process all the way around the box. And here is our box with all of our pickets fully glued and applied. So now we're going to apply our cross pieces to our pickets. So I'm just going to measure and mark with a pencil the length that I need to cut my sticks, and cut off those 2 rounded ends in accordance with the length that you need. You're going to place it on the inside of the box. Now once you figure out your placement, go ahead and add a dot of hot glue across the inside of those pickets, and then lay your piece right on top of those. And then you can make any adjustments to make sure that it's nice and even before it dries. And then continue this process all the way around your box until your entire box looks like it has a picket fence around it. Now go ahead and place glue in between the seams and the corners for extra reinforcement. So now all you have to do is repeat this process for your second box until you have 2 picket fence boxes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my support piece, and like I said, I'm using 2 scrap 1x2s, and I'm going to hot glue them together. Now you certainly can use tumbling tower blocks or a dowel if you have it, but since I had these blocks, I use these pieces for my project. Now before we start applying everything together, you want to mark the center of the bottom of your picket fence box. Now to highlight my mark, I'm just going to put a dot right in the center with a Sharpie. And you want to make sure both boxes have the centers marked equally. And then I'm going to take my support and I'm going to put it right over the center of that block, and then I'm going to trace that shape out with a pencil. Then to see it better, I'm just going to go over it with my Sharpie. Then you're going to repeat this for the other box as well. Now, along with my high temperature hot glue, I will be making 2 holes for screws, and I'm going to make them on the opposite sides of my center hole. So I'm just going to take my drill and I'm going to drill a hole diagonally across that center hole just to make sure I have 2 holes for my screws when I get ready to put them in. And now you can take your boxes out and give them a nice good coat of this Zinsser 123 primer. And then once that primer is dry, I'm going to go over with my final coat with this Krylon flat white. Now, of course, you could use chalk paint or acrylic as you like. So now that the pieces are dry, we can actually start putting our shelves together. But first, I'm going to cover up the bottom because it gives it a more finished look. So all I'm going to do is cover the bottom with some hot glue, and I'm just going to go around the edges and around that center square. Then place some brown craft paper on the bottom, making sure it's nice and secure into place. And then take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to go around all of the edges, trimming off the excess. And here's what the finished box will look like. Now I am going to take my X-Acto knife and re-poke those holes through so I can see them on the back side. And then I'm going to repeat that for the other box until both of them are nice and covered. So I mentioned before that I will be screwing these together as well as gluing them, but I'm only going to use some short screws for this, so I'm using these 1/2-inch wood screws. Now we're going to start with the bottom tier of the shelf, and we're going to take our block piece and we're going to center it right on the bottom center. Again, I'm just going to trace the corners on there so I make sure it's placed centered when I apply my glue. So go ahead and just apply a generous amount of that hot glue on the bottom of that, and then place it right and center it over those 2 drill holes. Now we will be placing that second shelf right on top, but we don't want to adhere it to the paper. We want it to actually adhere to the box. So I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and I am going to cut a square around those 2 drilled holes so that box portion will be exposed. Now you do want to make sure this square is smaller than the edge of your dowel or your wood piece. So now I'm just taking my drill and I'm drilling in pilot holes right through the same holes into my center support on that first tier of the tray. Now once your dowel holes, your pilot holes are drilled, go ahead and apply both of your screws into those holes. And now your center post of your tray is nice and secure, and then you just want to go ahead and apply the top of the tray on top. So go ahead and apply a generous amount of that wood stick hot glue on top of your center support and place it right over the center of that top tray. You just want to press firmly and make sure it has a good bond. Then go ahead and repeat, but drilling those pilot holes on the top of the tray and then applying your 2 screws right on top. And now both levels of your tray are nice and secure into place. Now, if you wanted to cover your screws, you can simply take some white acrylic paint, fine tipped paintbrush, and just put a few dabs over those screw tops and let that dry completely. And when they dry, your tray is now ready and you can decorate it. And here is our tray all decorated and on display. I just think that this is just the cutest thing. Now I've kept it really simple by adding candles and greenery, but there are so many ways you could customize this with your different decor. Now I really love this classic PICKET look, and it's perfect for my farmhouse decor. Now you could even add some cows and chickens, and that'll really farm it up. Now this project is a jumbo mug farmhouse planner. Now we're going to need 1 jumbo size ceramic mug from the Dollar Tree, and I'm comparing it to a regular size mug. It's really huge. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a design on the front, and I have this printable sheet available in the description box below that you can put on there. And also I have an SVG. If you have a cutting machine or a Cricut, you could put on there as well. So you have 2 different options for this project, and you don't need a cutting machine to do this project. So if you are using the printable version, just take the back of it and you want to scribble some pencil over the back over the entire design. Now this is going to work as a carbon transfer. So now you just want to lay it over your mug, tape it into place, and go over it with a pen or pencil, and that will transform the design on the mug, and then you can go over it with a Sharpie or a paint pen. Now, if you are using a Cricut or a cutting machine, you just want to snip around your design to make sure that it will conform around the round mug. Now, before you apply any kind of vinyl design, you definitely want to clean the outside of your mug with some rubbing alcohol to remove any oil or debris. You want to peel away your design from the sheet and then place it and center it right on the mug. Now you may need to snip it a place or two just to make sure it's nice and even, and use your brayer or your scraper to make sure that everything is laying nice and smooth on the mug. Now last time burnishing it, making sure it's nice and adhered, then carefully peel off your transfer sheet on the design, and your finished look will be nice and neat. So now that we have our design on there, we're just going to add a little bow as an accent on the handle. And again, I'm taking some of that wood glue, hot glue, and then I'm going to place that bow right on top of the handle. And once that's done, just choose any flowers of your choice. And I got these daisies from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so cute. And you just place them inside and they perfectly blend into your farmhouse decor. And here it is on display. Now I just simply love this adorable piece. Now I did purchase these daisies from the Dollar Tree and they make the perfect accent for this mug. And then adding a painted or vinyl logo brings everything together, and it's topped off with this really cute bow. Now I think that this makes an awesome gift too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now this project is a farmhouse welcome sign. So we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, a piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree, one of these plant hanger chains from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to need this printout, which will be linked in the description box below. So we're going to lay out our Sherbander silicone mat, grab our blocks, and our carpenter square that we got from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start gluing the blocks end to end, and we're going to glue 6 sets of 6 blocks. Now once we start gluing these together, we want to make sure we squeeze them tightly, and we want to make sure that we flip them every time we add a block, and this will make sure they're nice and even. Also, go ahead and remove any of that hot glue that is seeping out of the edges, and this will create a neat look. Now once you have your 6-piece block done, go ahead and continue until you have all 6 of your 6-piece block sets done. Now the next set we're going to do are two block sets, and we're going to make 6 of those sets. So just start gluing those end to end as well, wiping that glue away, and then continue until you have all 6 done. So now we can start assembling our frame. We're going to lay one of the 2 block sets against the side, and then we're going to glue one of the 6 block sets at that bottom corner. Now once that's adhered, go ahead and flip it, and then we're going to add another 6 block set on the opposite side. Now once that's nice and bonded, flip the whole thing over, and we're just going to close up that frame by adding that second 2 block sets at the very open end. Now once that's all bonded, you have one of your frames all completed, and just continue until you have 2 additional frames to make 3 complete frames. So now that they're nice and dry, we are going to paint them, and I'm going to use some of this black acrylic paint. Now I like to start painting my frames by starting on the outsides and insides first, and then painting on the top. It just makes it a lot easier. Now you want to continue this until your entire frame is nice and covered, and then repeat this for your other 2 frames until all 3 are painted, and let them sit to completely dry. So now that they're dry, we can grab a cutting mat and our piece of foam board. Now we're going to grab one of our frames and we're going to lay it right on top of that foam board, and we're going to use a pencil to draw a line for the outside dimensions of our frame, and we want to do this 3 times. So now that you have your 3 pieces, we're going to take a straight edge and then take an X-Acto knife and cut those pieces of your foam board apart. And now that you have your 3 pieces, go ahead and test fit them. Now, if it is the exact size, they'll show from the back, but in order to prevent this, go ahead and trim off 1/4 of an inch on the short side and also the long side of your frame. And now you'll see this fits snug inside of the frame's edges and won't show from the front. Now just repeat this for all 3 pieces. And now we can adhere them to the back. Just apply a line of that hot glue around the inside edge, close to the edge of that back of the frame, and press that foam board in place. And now we have one complete frame, and just repeat this until you have all 3 frames done. So now we're going to take our sign. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these words apart with my scissors. Now I also have an SVG. If you have a cutting machine, I have an SVG file in the description box below if you want to use vinyl instead. So I've cut apart my words with scissors, and now I'm going to place one in each one of those frames. Now I noticed my welcome L was just a little too big for the frame, so I'm just going to trim a little bit off the L on the top and bottom, and then it'll fit perfectly inside my frame. Now to bond these, I am going to be using a glue stick. You really don't want to use hot glue or anything else to create a bumpy texture, but I find that the glue stick will make it nice and smooth and will not have any rippling in the final project. Now I did use just regular old printer paper for this, and it worked out perfectly. Now once you put it on there, just smooth it out, make sure it's center, and then repeat this for your other 2 words. So now we're going to work on the chain. So I'm taking this plant hanger chain and I'm going to remove it from the plant hanger. Now Dollar Tree does sell these plant hangers alone, but I did have this extra one laying around, so I decided to just use this one instead. So now we're going to take all 3 of our frames and make sure they're in order, and then we're going to lay them evenly spaced apart with the back side facing you. I'm going to take that first chain and I'm going to line it up approximately 1.5 inches to 1 inch from the edge, and then I'm just going to put a line of hot glue across that top one and lay the chain in place. Now to make this a little bit easier and keep your pieces from shifting, you might want to use some painter's tape to hold them in place, but you know, it's all up to you. Now you're just going to repeat this all the way down, making sure they remain evenly spaced apart, and apply that hot glue and then lay that chain right on top. Now to secure them in place, I like to use my silicone spatula and just go ahead and give them a pat, and then repeat this on the other side. Now once both sides are nice and dry, just go ahead and check the front and make sure everything looks good. Now to cover up the chain and make it more presentable, I am just going to use some pieces of some craft paper, and I'm just going to cover up each one of the chains on the back of each one of my pieces. Now I think this provides a really neat, even, and clean finished look. Now the last chain of our hanger we are going to apply on top to hang our signs, and I'm just going to apply some glue at an angle and press that chain right into the glue. You want to pat that into place, wait till it dries, and go ahead and cover that part as well. And now that both pieces are covered and that glue is nice and dry, go ahead and flip it over and take a look, and your sign is ready to hang. So now that we've hung it up, it's ready to welcome all of your guests to your farmhouse. Now I think that the tumbling blocks and foam board make the perfect frames for these signs. And the printer paper design really blends in perfectly with the foam board. Now these look so awesome hanging up, and they look like something you would find at a decor store. What do you think of this project? Let me know in the comments below. Now this project is a mason jar set with tray. Now we're going to need 3 mason jars, and these are available at the Dollar Tree, but they're a lot cheaper at Walmart by the case. You'll also need one of these signs from the Dollar Tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start off working with the mason jar. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those lids and the seals and make sure they're nice and clean. Now I'll be painting these with some white chalk paint, and I'm going to put one nice coat on each jar. Now you definitely can use acrylic paint or even spray paint. It's all up to you. I just like the chalk paint. I'm going to put one nice coat. It's nice and thick, and I wanted it to have a rustic look, so only one coat will work for my project. So you want to make sure all 3 jars are nice and painted and let them sit to dry. Now once they are dry, we are going to seal them with a coat of Mod Podge. Now I do have satin finish here, but you can use any finish that you like. Now once you paint that on, you want to sit those to the side to completely dry as well. So while those dry, we're going to work on our sign, which will be turned into a tray. So go ahead and remove that insert of the sign, and then we're going to take some pliers and remove all of the little pegs that hold that sign on the inside. And now we can paint our pieces. So I'm going to be using some black acrylic paint to go over all of the pieces. So I'm going to start with the back of that sign. Go ahead and apply a nice good layer of that black acrylic paint, making sure that you go in even strokes all the way around. And then you also want to paint the frame. Now I noticed my frame had kind of a shiny texture after I started painting it, but I found that adding 2 coats resolved that, and you can also sand it before painting if you like. Now you just want to make sure they're both painted and let them sit to completely dry, and they'll have this beautiful finish. Now again, we do want to seal this with the Mod Podge to prevent any chipping on our project, and just apply a nice even coat on both pieces. And once they're dry, they have this nice even finished look. So now we can insert that bottom into our tray. Now to permanently add this, we're just going to apply a layer of that hot glue on that inside ledge of our frame, and then we are going to take our sign and place it right inside and press it firmly into place. Now I think I could probably repurpose this is us piece, so I went ahead and removed that from the back. And to make it nice and clean, I'm going to add some hot glue to the back and insert a piece of extra craft paper right on top to make it look neat. Now I did overlap some paint on the back, so I'm going to go over that lightly with sandpaper, and that will create a nice clean look as well. So now our mason jars should be nice and dry, and I have this farmhouse ribbon on hand, so I'm going to take some of this farmhouse buffalo check ribbon and I'm going to tie a bow around each one of my jars. Now you can add anything you like. You can add any kind of ribbon that you like, or you can add designs actually on the jar. You can cut them out with Cricut or print them out. It's all up to you. I just wanted to keep this nice and simple so I would be able to repurpose these jars and change them up with the seasons. So all I did was type a really simple cute bow on each one of my jars. So now all you have to do is add greenery of your choice, and I am adding some of this boxwood from Walmart. I think it's absolutely beautiful and fits perfectly into this design. And then add 3 of your mason jars right on the tray, and they fit perfectly. And here are my sweet little jars on display on the tray, and I love how simple and easy these were to make. Now you can add any kind of filler that you like for these and change them up for the holidays. And this little tray is perfect for the fit of displaying these jars too. Now I have to say, I love all of these projects today, but you guys have to let me know which one of these DIYs today was your favorite. Let me know in the comments below. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So Crafty EE on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen, and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.